Welcome back to this week's episode of Miles Ahead. I am your host, Amelia Miles. If you're watching this on YouTube, I am sorry. Once again, you can't see me. Technical issues, we love that. But hey, we still got the mic and we are here rocking. It is halfway through June. It's Juneteenth tomorrow. It has been lovely outside. It's just been raining here and there. It has been just a solid summer so far. I've been to the pool. I've been to the lake. I know this summer I definitely want to get up to Cedar Point in Sandusky, Ohio. I definitely want to make my way to Chicago. I love Chicago in the summer. Trying to get on a boat there, go to a Cubs game, even though they suck, but the drinking there is iconic. All right, now we've come to my favorite part of the show, the interview portion. Let's go. I got to interview Angel Suttle. She is amazing. She's a light. She's a media mogul. I didn't realize how our lives have aligned and have basically it's just been weird. She came in and she sat down. Tell me why we talked for 2 hours before we even push record. Angel, if you're listening to this, I love you. And our conversation was electric, and I know we need a girls' night soon, and we'll definitely make that happen. But I really hope women or men, whoever's listening to this, really take away some really good lessons or just something from her conversation with me. I walked away knowing my worth. I walked away with some advice on having to vouch for myself in this media industry and just, putting yourself first at the end of the day. And just all that. And we also talked about relationships, work-life balance, all of that. So without further ado, I know I've been rambling. Here is Angel Suttle, but as always, let's keep moving forward together. Here we go. Angel Suttle, welcome to Miles Ahead.
Yay, I'm so happy to be here. I'm so proud of you.
We've been catching up for the past, it feels, an hour.
Yes.
And we weren't even recorded. And so now hopefully we can emulate everything in the girl talk to this, but leave a little key details out.
Of course.
But I want to start on how we met. I think the first time we met was when I was in the news industry. Mm-hmm. But you knew my mom before then, but we never really crossed paths. She's always brought you up, but she never really, it just never happened. And so when I met you in the news industry, you were always kind. You were always saying, what do you need from me? What can I help? And it was just, you never see women that look like us help each other in the spaces that you hopefully think you would need the help,
Yes.
So kind of just talk about, your journey in life in terms of, where you grew up, what high school, all that stuff.
Well, just to kind of piggyback off of what you just said, for me, it's so vital that because there's so few of us in these spaces, in these anchor seats, behind the mic, at radio stations, et cetera, in media overall, we have to be able to, I think there is just this perception of empowerment and all these girl power conferences and whatever. The real impact comes in these types of correspondence. If someone that's trying to get into the market or in the market and young and trying to figure it out, if they come to you, or even if they don't come to you, you extend yourself. You make yourself available so that if they need something, because that day is going to come, that even if it's just, you need an outlet. You need perspective. You need somebody you can trust because it is a very cutthroat industry. Just open the door. And for me, that was really vital that I made sure you knew, even if we don't talk all the time, even if we don't cross paths often, if you need something, let me know. And I will do the best that I can to be there for you. And I meant that. And so full circle moment, here we are, you've been a seasoned media professional. I, of course, born and raised here in Fort Wayne, went to Concordia Lutheran High School, got my education, just a true Fort Wayne, born and raised hometown girl. And so my trajectory through college, I got, my background's in marketing. I started right out of school at Indiana's News Center, which we now know to be 21 Alive.
Which is nuts, and I didn't even know that.
Yes. That was my first grown-up job, big girl job. And I was an account executive there, as well as hosted a weekly vignette called On the Scene, where we would go around and interview things that were happening, that were fun, that were coming to the city. And it was an amazing 4-year trajectory. And then I was prompted to step out on faith and start my own public relations media marketing firm, which at that time was called Halo Media Inc. And I was able to represent some amazing local clients like Mike Lito with his training facility. We had Always 100 Basketball, Chocolate Kinks and Curls, natural hair brand. I was able to be a part of some amazing startup businesses, and as well as I was able to work with BET, the NFL, the NBA, the G League, and that led me to partner with Netflix on a diversity campaign that was really, really a catalyst to my career. And from there, was able to just live my best, my highest and best. I really just bet on myself, and I think that's something that a lot of people are afraid to do. But it didn't always pan out picture perfect. But I knew that if I didn't take the risk, if I didn't lean in, I would never know. And so that led me to some amazing opportunities, Fashion Week and, the Grammys and different experiences that I've been able to work on and be a part of. But ultimately, Fort Wayne has always been home. It's always going to be home. And so was able to be a radio personality, got an offer to have a radio show, took advantage of that opportunity. My show was incredible. I was really intentional about bringing my community into the studio. That for me was something that I didn't really take lightly. I wanted to make sure if there was an event, a cause, a nonprofit, a church, a business, I wanted to give my platform to those individuals. And it was really a great springboard for a lot of people who were starting off or just needed a platform to bring a voice to what they were doing or what they were passionate about. And after that, I was able to get a job offer in South Florida on a radio station down there. And as a Fort Wayne girl, I wanted to test to see if I had what it took to really stand tall in another market. That was something that I had never had the opportunity to do as a radio personality. And so I took it and I moved to Palm Beach, Florida. And it was an amazing, amazing experience until COVID happened. And then, as you know, the media sector marketing sector turned completely upside down. At that time, I was also dealing with my mom's battle with cancer. And it was just a polarizing time where I really got to understand that the connectivity of family and being home was really what I needed. And so relocated back to Fort Wayne and unfortunately lost my mom to cancer. And it's just been, an upward trajectory from there. I did want to come back and kind of make sure I positioned my brand in a way that could be influential and have impact, which is why I joined some of the boards that I'm on and was able to contribute to academia in a new way and coaching students through their ventures and things. And now ultimately full circle moment being back behind the mic, literally. So that's my trajectory in a nutshell.
Yeah, no, I love that. I mean, I know one of the recent stories or in like the past couple of years of how we reconnected was when your mother got what was it, the Lilly Award?
She was I did the LLS Visionary of the Year campaign in her honor. And then Parkview also honored her during Black History Month, which then made them have a news story on her as the first African-American flight nurse with Parkview Health for the Samaritan.
Yeah, and like, I've never met your mom. And like, I wish I did, but I know she met me when I was a kid. So it's like, yeah, she touched me one way or another.
Yes.
So what do you think she'd be the most proud of you with everything that's been, transcending in your life?
I think my parents overall, my mom and my dad. My dad was an amazing, amazing force that I lost in 2008 and then losing my mom in 2019. I think what they would be most proud of is my resilience. I think that professionally, of course, being able to, rise to the highest heights, and still continue to push myself into new challenges, but also more so, I would say they would be most proud of my resilience as a mom when it comes to to raising my children, I do not play.
Yeah.
My daughter is a scholar. She goes to one of the top academies in the area. My son graduated from Florida State University, and prayers to our Nobles Nation with everything that just happened on campus. Thank God he was safe and not on campus that day. But I've raised some amazing individuals, well-rounded individuals, and I think that for me is their legacy. My parents' legacy lives on through myself, but ultimately through my children.
And you talk about the halo effect. Where did that truly come from?
So aside from my name being Angel and it really kind of being a play on that, the definition of the halo effect is when someone has a perception of something based on their own bias or assimilation to something, they think that it has a halo around it. They think that they kind of give it more of a pedestal, if you will, just off of their own perception of it. And so by definition, I feel like that has been kind of the story of my life is I've always kind of been set apart. I've always kind of been unique and given this gifting and calling that I think some people can't really relate to or understand. And instead of shying away from it, I lean heavily into it. And so I rock my halo everywhere I go. And I hope every instance and person and place that I'm able to impact, I leave a little bit of the halo effect behind.
And how are you planning on doing that type of work and mission into your new radio show?
So the great thing about the halo effect that's launching on WBOI 89.1 is it's not just, push, play, push, stop, push, play, push, stop.
Because that's what it used to be, basically.
Typical radio is you're just, cutting in, cutting out between breaks. The playlist is already curated for you. The ad placements are there. You talk through, you do your live reads on your sponsors and whatever. But the great thing about this opportunity for me is that I am able to completely curate my show. And what sets this show apart is I am leaning into not just the music, but the stories behind the music that make the music great, that make the music lasting. And so, for instance, I may play a great DeBarge song and then flip that into the sample that Notorious B.I.G. used in One More Chance, or, and really tie the music together of how current day music is still very heavily impressed upon by our roots and foundation of music. And then just talking through, some of the, I want it to be an experience where you feel like every show you walk away with something that you didn't know. So really delving into the facts behind the songs, some of the unknown little things that or nuances that happened in the studios during those performance opportunities and things like that. So really curating the music in a way that's dope, that's gonna have your head nodding, but also that's gonna feed you something. So that's what sets the halo effect apart, is just really shining a light and radiating a light on the culture and soul of R&B and how it still really plays a role in influencing music today.
Yeah. And when you talk about, all of your accolades, everything that you've done or will be doing, I feel like in this day and age, a lot of women that are in this industry or just looking from the outside have this perception of drinking the haterade. Ooh. Why is that? I genuinely don't know. Because my thing is, let's say I have beef with somebody. It's like, where did the beef start? Why am I competing with you? Why do I feel like you're threatened or I feel threatened? It's just really confusing because we're always taught to build women up. But why is it the complete opposite?
I think, unfortunately, in current day, a lot of that, like I said, women empowerment and girl power.
Yeah, it's like they always say it. It's in their bio.
Yeah.
It's in their bio.
Yeah. Girl boss and all of that. And a lot of it can be performative because sometimes the people that are heading up those charges are the meanest girls. They're the meanest women. And they're not trying to, as long as they are the ones shining, there's no problem. But as soon as someone comes in that they deem could be a potential threat, then that's when you get the real them. And so I think to reference your haterade reference, First of all, it's for sale on every corner. They sipping it, baby. They sipping it. But ultimately, it's something that it took me a while to get to this place of understanding. But I just had to get to the place where this is not a me issue. There's something in you that you see in me that makes you feel away. That no longer is my issue. That's something that you have to work through, that you have to identify. What is it in me that when I see her shine, I feel away? You got to talk to the lady about that because, that has nothing to do with me. Yeah. And so I have to keep my blinders on so that I can continue to encourage and charge myself up because, unfortunately, I'm not the recipient of the empowerment that they, quote unquote, are dishing out. Yep. So we definitely have to look within, charge us up. Thankfully, we come from great families. We have great support systems. But it is isolating. It's a bit hurtful sometimes too. But ultimately, it's a them issue. It's totally about them. It's not about you. You just trigger something in them that makes them feel away. And that's when it's like, sis, you got to do that work. You got to do that work for you and figure that out.
And separate yourself and don't put too much separation where it's like, oh, she's too good for us. And it's like, it's never that. It's just, I don't want to be around that type of energy because I don't want to stoop down to whatever you're feeling today.
And who said that? Who said I'm too good for you? Because I never said that. But if that's how you feel, again, that's a you issue, sis. I can't help you navigate through that. If you have already deemed me to be better than you, what is it about you that you need to work on? Because I'm supposed to feel like I'm dope. If I don't, who will? Yep. So if that's a problem for you, I can't apologize for my greatness, but I can try to help you navigate to find yours. But if you're not receptive to it, then I got to leave you where you at.
And so I know we came from a similar background in the sense of, okay, TV to a different type of industry. So I am kind of listening to you on this of like advice, but how did you handle that switch from media to these different other careers? Because you were in nonprofit spaces, you were in an entrepreneurship space. So kind of like talk about how you transition to adapt to each of those spaces.
I think for me, the key is I'm always my authentic self. No matter what room I'm in, no matter what role I play, I'm always my authentic self. And so I know that when I leave this world, I want to leave the world empty. I want to know that I gave every possible gift and skill set that God has placed in me. I gave it my best shot. Yeah. Some things worked out, some things didn't. But I can leave here and say, you know what? I did that, And so I think just knowing that no matter what the trajectory looks like, because we are planners. Yeah. We're like, okay, I got this, I got that, And sometimes you got to be willing to deviate from the plan because ultimately we're not really in control anyway. So that's when I adopted kind of just this fluidity. And it confused a lot of people because they were like, what does she do? Whatever I want.
Exactly.
And that pains a lot of people to be able to wake up and say, well, what's her job? I'm not defined by a job title. What do? I do my best in everything that I attempt. Yeah. And so when people can't put you in a title or a box, exactly, it makes them very uncomfortable because a lot of people, if you ask them, tell me about yourself, the first thing they lead out with is, well, I'm and they insert job description, right? And so when you are a multifaceted woman like you and I, no matter where we are, we're going to be great. We're going to excel. And so the role doesn't define us. The impact and the purpose does. And so that's what I would challenge you to keep at the forefront of whatever role you take, however your trajectory looks, keep the purpose and the impact as the main thing, the mainstay. The company may change, the role may shift, the pay may increase, wink, wink. But ultimately, it's about the purpose and the impact and what you're leaving behind in every place that you walk into.
And I kind of want to transition into something that has affected both of us recently. Girl talk, just going to be as filtered as we can be. Relationships.
Breaking news, by the
way. Relationships in general. Okay. What does a relationships look like in this day and age? Because you have your age bracket and you have my age bracket. But when we were talking beforehand, we were like, Oh my gosh, the
same.
same thing is happening. Even if you would think a man who is upwards of 40 or upwards of 30s or know what to do, know who they are, know everything, is still on the same wavelength as somebody that was in my age bracket in their 20s. So what? I don't even know how to word the question here.
I think the relationship trajectory is difficult when you are a woman of power, when you're a woman of influence, and when you're a woman of impact, and whatever that could be in the medical realm, that could be you're a high power attorney, you could be a corporate executive. I think sometimes as women who wear our superwoman capes, it can be difficult to find your Superman, because that can sometimes be intimidating to men, where they don't know where they fit into your life to help you and or to help support you. And so oftentimes I think it comes from a lens of insecurity. It could be, oh, everybody thinks she's so great, and where does that leave me? And then there could be a sense of ego and pride in there, that sometimes men will lean into. And it's an unfortunate reality that sometimes, some men will try to humble you when they feel like your star is shining a little too bright for them. And so it's unfortunate, in my 40s, you're in the
20s.
The 20s. Yes. It's an unfortunate reality that you have to definitely make sure you align with someone who is comfortable in his own skin fully, who has accomplished what he plans to accomplish, who feels, confident in who he is, and is able to step into rooms beside you and feel like, that's my woman, and I'm proud, being with pride, and not kind of slant their eyes in resentment, like, oh, she thinks she's so great.
But why is that? Like, we've had this conversation, but it's just like, why is it that men feel so, I don't even know what the word is, just so like entitled to having this be put on their level or make them feel comfortable? I like being uncomfortable. I like putting myself in uncomfortable situations where I don't know the outcome, but I know what the outcome could be. And that makes me even more excited. That makes me want to do this, and that. But like, why do some men put their whole relationship into a box, and they feel like it's not a conversation, you're being talked to?
I think I heard recently from a really insightful individual that sometimes men can be threatened by your level of access. And so when you're in circles and you're in rooms, and for some people it's aspirational. Oh, I want to go shake the hand of that billionaire that's in the room, and well, that billionaire happens to know you by name. That can be unsettling for some people, just based off of your level of connectivity and your networking. And so then it becomes, well, she has access to all of these high-powered people, and, what if I'm not enough? And what if someone swoops in that could,
well, maybe you should wear your tie tighter. I don't know.
Listen.
Maybe have your hand on my hip and because that's my thing though. I love men who will grab their woman tighter. Like tighter. I love that. Why are you about to go stand on the other side of the room like you feel threatened by somebody in here? That disconnect for me is like, okay, that's kind of
unattractive.
Turn off for sure.
Yes.
So
definitely.
then how did you keep your, past relationships? Like, was there a trend?
I think that it kind of, there's been a progression, right? I think sometimes what attracts people to you is ultimately what will repel them from you later. So they see Amelia, they see she's shining, she's this great media personality, she's got this podcast, she's doing amazing things, she's, well-known, well-respected. And then they get with you, and the reality of Amelia can sometimes be off-putting or be too much. So again, I think it just boils down to, just like I had to say with the girl power situation, sometimes even in relationships with men, it's not you. It is you, but it's not you. Sometimes there are just some self-reflection things that man needs to look at himself and say, okay, what is it about me that when my woman gets an accolade, or she has an opportunity, or she's well respected, that makes me feel away. Instead of celebrating that and being like, yeah, that's my woman.
They're asking questions first,
exactly.
And then they'll say congratulations,
or cower away, or I'm not gonna go to this event with you, or I'm gonna stand by the side because all people want to do is talk to you anyway. And it's like, no, but if you're my guy, and we're presenting, this
a
powerful
front,
exactly, and we're this dynamic couple, then I wouldn't have invited you if I was gonna just leave you on the wayside. I want you right there with me. I want to introduce you. And I think sometimes, maybe the idea of being Mr. Amelia in the room can off-put some men, being Mr. Angel that night, for me. When there have been settings, of course, where you have stepped back and let your guy shine in his lane too. But I think for some men, it's more of a challenge than they anticipate, and they don't really realize it until they get into that dynamic, because sometimes you're the first woman of caliber that they've dated. Not to discredit.
You're probably not wrong. You're probably
more.
Oh, certainly. I listen. I am a media training guru, so when I'm like, oh, let me introduce you to this is that, this is that. But you also can tell when they don't want to be introduced, when they don't want, they've shut down, they've turned off, they're in their head now about it. Now they already feel away. So it's like, I don't want to introduce you to my high level contacts, and you got a little attitude now for no reason. So then it's like, you want to be in the corner, you want to sit over there
and pout.
Hey,
go ahead,
have at it,
Bye.
But I would never invite someone somewhere and not put them in position, because that's how I rock. Like, okay, we are unified front. This is not the Angel show.
Yep.
You and me, I'm with you. Here, this is who I'm with. This is who I am, But I do think that it requires, being with a high-powered woman requires a level of confidence that you can step into your own in any setting and in any room and be able to go shake hands and pass out business cards for yourself. Because now we in this grind together. We trying to make it make sense together. So, but yeah, I think that sometimes it can be difficult just being a woman of influence to find a relationship that is balanced in that.
But now we're in Fort Wayne, and we really don't have a plan to leave anytime soon. I mean, for me anyways.
Correct.
So where are we finding these men at? Like, truly, like, I was even talking to KP about, having these mixers, not necessarily like a dating mixer. Like, I'm talking about like the events that you were talking about that you've held before.
Oh, yeah, my Halo Effect mixers.
Like, we need to bring something like that back, because I don't want. Please just give me a date. Give me a teaser date, please, because I need to make sure the hair is done, the nails done.
You will be the first to know once the Halo Effect mixers launch.
Because it's just like, we have so many of these great spaces in Fort Wayne, and we have so many great small businesses, and we have so many great people that they don't want to go to Mitchell's. They don't want to go to Henry's, but we love Henry's over here.
Henry's, yes.
But it's just like, we want something where we're going to kind of benefit out of it at the end of the day.
Definitely.
Because it's just, we want to surround ourselves with not necessarily the 21-year-olds, the fresh babies, and we might run into them and have to deal with that. Like, we want to deal with and see people and build those connections and relationships on a level that is, I can have a little bit of alcohol there, can have a little bit of hors d'oeuvres, but like,
let my hair down a little bit.
Exactly. So do you think, when it comes to just living in Fort Wayne, I don't want to say the impossibleness, but just like, where do you go? Like, is it church? Like, is it the gym? Is it, I don't know, the mall? Or like, I don't know, like, where are these men hanging out at where I'm like, okay, well, let's, like, like, where, like, I don't even know how I'm trying to get at this, but it's just like, I'm just stuck, and I'm just like, not even trying to look for somebody now. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying a lot of my friends are just ready to settle down. And at the end of the day, these men are not. They tell you up front they are, but at the end of the day, they're really not.
Yeah, a lot of times they tell you what you want to hear. And so you do have to be discerning. I think that's first and foremost is social media, I think, has really polluted the dating perspective, right? People, they want the baddie, they want the IG girl, and it's like, so when it comes to a woman of influence or a woman of power, or they want the woman that's gonna go 50-50, and so
and I don't mind that either. Just tell me up front.
Listen, I do. I mind because I like a traditional man, and I don't mind helping and supporting, but I think that, if it's presented to me in one way, that you are a provider mindset and all of that, and then you send me with the bait and switch, now it's a situation because, like you said, let me know that's what you're looking for and give me the opportunity to accept or decline. But if you play one role with me, like, oh yeah, this, that, and whatever, and then later in the game, it's like, oh, well, you don't even do this. Like, okay, well, that's not how this was packaged and presented to me.
Yeah, you came correct. And then now you're trying to uncheck that box.
Absolutely.
And I'm like, wait, I can see the eraser mark right there.
Exactly. And there are a lot of women that are okay with that are willing to,
adapt.
Want to be a roommate for sure. But my thing is, if you're looking for a roommate, Craigslist is open to you 24/7. But if you're trying to really establish something foundationally and spiritually, I feel like there is an onus on men to have a provider mindset. Now, as women, we are charged to be a helpmeet. We're charged we're not here to just let our man sink, you know what I mean? But ultimately, you want the respect of being the head of the household, then you gotta be the head of the household. Well, I don't understand if I expect a traditional man, what does what I do from 9 to 5, as long as I still fulfill, because if I could be a window cleaner from 9 to 5. The requirement of a hot meal, making sure things are in order, making sure the children are well kept, that still falls on me. And so if I am operating in my purpose, a radio show or a podcast or hosting mixers or hosting events for nonprofits, I'm the type of woman, if my man called me right now in the middle of this podcast, I would answer the phone.
Same.
Here's my thing. Before I left to go see the president, my man would have meals in the refrigerator. Lasagna would be ready. All he had to do is warm it up. There's a crock pot meal ready for him when he gets off of work. So the 2 days that I'm away, he's fed and taken care of. And when I get back, I pick up where I left off. So I don't think that because you are a woman of influence, you're a woman that has a high profile situation, that you can't do it. You can't do all of the things, you know?
You can do it.
But also,
you can do it.
It's a
for
lot.
the right one.
It's a lot because we have some women who don't have, the working role, and they are sinking just trying to maintain the household. So we working, we saving the world and doing all of these things, plus coming home and making sure home is a comfortable place.
But how do you know you have a hybrid guy, or how do you know when you found the hybrid guy? And that's the question. But that's the questions you have to ask. Like, what questions dictate a hybrid guy?
50-50.
I guess.
The hybrid guy is because he's like, okay, we both taking on roles with the kids, or I'm gonna have to cover dinner when you away. I'm gonna have to whip something together. So that for me, like, I don't think that I would say that I desire a hybrid role, because I still wear all of the women hats at home. You know what I mean? I think it's about prioritization too. Yep. I think for me, if there is ever something, there are not very many instances where there are fires, right? Like my man is like, something is going on, we need, that needs emergency attention. But I think part of that is communicating ahead of time, like, okay, this is what I have coming up. Does this work for you that night? Do we have to make some arrangements for, switching children's around, sports schedules, whatever needs to be done. I think a part of that is just having conversation, planning ahead, being communicative of my schedule, your schedule. I
over-communicate that to a T. I literally say when I'm leaving work, when dinner's going to be done, where I'm going to be at Pilates from this time to this time. And I love how I'm able to share my location. So I'm telling him like, hey, I'm at this place. When you see this little icon leave this place, I'm all about you. Just give me this time and I'll be there, and I'll be 100% you. But I feel like in this day and age as well, a lot of these men are taking off, in my opinion, and this is probably just because of the men I've been circling around. they bite off more than they can chew, and then they lean on you to pick up the pieces with them. And then that puts you back on your progress, on your growth, and you're sitting there like on the roller coaster of like, okay, I'm kind of walking on eggshells in this relationship now because I just want to make sure I'm going to be there for you. But what about me?
Yeah.
But yeah, I just come to that point in my adult womanhood of, have my own car, like literally what the songs say. Like, oh, she got her own car, she got her own bills, and she gonna go back to school and get her degree, like credit score up, like all of that I love that. But why can't that be with the relationship too? Why does that always have to be when the girl is single? Why does the glow up always have to happen when a guy breaks her heart? Like, I know I'm gonna like overcome whatever I'm going through right now in a bag of chips, but why does that have to be the springboard to that push?
Here's the catch-22. It's one of those things where as a woman, to a certain extent, you're darned if you do and you're darned if you don't. So if you are a docile woman who's just doing the normal things, then it's like, where's your ambition? Where's your drive? Where, I need a woman who's out here making it happen. And then when you are that woman who's out here making it happen with passion, drive, and ambition, it's like, you doing a little too much for me. What you need me for? You got the car, you got the house, credit on point. What do you need me for? So it's almost a situation where, if you're not enough, they want you to be more. If you're too much, they want you to be less. So, I mean, where's the happy medium there? Most of the standouts in this industry are single women. Most of the women that make it to the top in this industry are single women.
And the reason why men think we got to the top?
Let's talk about it. And I think that's sometimes where we as women miss the mark is because for me, there have been instances that I'm like, okay, he doesn't have all the things. He doesn't check all the boxes. But we can work through those things. We can build anyway.
We're fixers.
We can build the bear, okay? What kind of dude is looking for me is the question.
Exactly.
Like both of y'all are attractive women. Y'all don't have no problem with a dude trying to get, or at least.
That's perception. Can we talk about that, Amelia? Right? Can we talk about that? Because
perception,
a guy, because of his ego, would rather not even shoot the shot to see because they can't stand the possibility of being rejected. So the pretty girl, people think this all the time. They think, she always getting hit up, or she always getting DM. A lot
DMs
of men
were very dry before I had a relationship.
Phone dry, okay?
You know what's crazy?
Those are the guys that shoot the shot.
Yes. And I'm sitting here.
I ain't got nothing to lose, no way.
It's hard maybe around the corner.
And the thing is, too, like, I am such an open book and someone who is open to just about anybody to have a conversation.
Certainly, me too.
Like, literally just a conversation. Oh, I know, but I can only speak for myself. Yes. I can't speak for the whole nation, okay? But I'm saying the people and the men that have approached me in the past have been people who are just want to have a conversation. Yeah. And I think that's why I always labeled myself as a girl's guy. Because but then you have the other side of it. The other side of it is the girls that you're hanging out with. They're like, oh, you're a flirt. I'm like, no, I'm having a conversation. I know the definition between a flirt and someone who just likes to talk with people in general. Yes. I'm not touching your man. I'm not even in a close proximity. We're just having a conversation that's flowing, that's not forced, and it just so happens we're talking for a longer period of time. Of course I'm clocking it because I'm not going to try to make a move and overdo it. It's just having a conversation.
In those instances, sometimes I think the woman has the reality that my man is enamored by someone else that's not me. So even if it's not in a physical attraction kind of way, like they're not going to try to hit on you or anything. If their girl is right there, but there's a light that comes up in her man's face, like he talking to the news lady, like and so that then causes her to reflect because in her mind, if I wasn't here, could she have my guy? That's where I think that complex kind of comes in when it comes to being a girl's guy or guy's girl is women are like, and when you are not married, that then as an extra layer to, oh, I gotta watch what's mine because my man. Exactly. So then she's like, oh, let me hold on a little tighter to mine because she won't be walking up out of here with my guy.
Exactly.
But
which is fine. I didn't want him in the first place.
No one wanted him, sis. That's why you have him. But ultimately, there is something that lights up in men that you encounter because they admire what you accomplish. They've seen you on the news. They've heard your voice throughout the day. And so it's not even in a flirtatious way. Sometimes they just like, man, she's really dope.
And it's okay to say that.
Yeah.
It's okay to be dope. It's okay to have that camaraderie with you of like, oh yeah, like she's definitely somebody I could like hang out with. Or in their head, maybe I'm trying to get with his friend and I got to get in good with him first.
Listen. Listen, I have learned that you have to go through the girl. You have to go through the girl because if you are, even if it's a homie you've had since high school, if he has a girl, you got to go through the girl because she is going to be the gatekeeper to if you can have a true homie kind of dynamic with him. If she is on guard when it comes to you, you better believe she may play the game in front of your face, but when they get in that car
and start talking and being
what
like,
was all that about? What was all you cheesing all in her face for? And yeah, she looking real thirsty, and now it becomes a whole thing. But unfortunately, that's just the reality of who we are. You sometimes have to disarm that woman first to let her know, like, sis, I'm not coming for you. I'm not gonna,
Yeah, and
it still sometimes doesn't work though. But
and I have a guy best friend. His name is Solomon Smith. Shout out to him. And he married his girlfriend, I think 4 to 5 years. I don't know. I shouldn't know how long they've been together. But anyway, I was in their wedding, and prior to their growth and who they are with as a couple and everything like that, like I knew my place. I knew when not to call. Yeah. I knew when to pop up. I knew when, like anytime we would hang out, I would make sure I would post and nothing would be like, oh, like that kind of looks a little close to me. Like, no, like I was always respectful and I don't know, I mean, I've never really truly asked her, but I don't think she ever questioned where me and Solomon stood. And that's where I respect the HE double hockey sticks out of her. Because at the end of the day, I love Solomon to the moon and back, but we don't even hug. Like we don't even, we just don't, like we have a handshake. Like, if we do hug, it's because we probably haven't seen each other for a while. Like there may have been a time in my life where like, you have those dreams of like, oh, should have been with that guy? But no, like he was put in my life to be my best friend. He wasn't put into my life to test me and to test their relationship. Like this isn't Temptation Island. Like I'm not going to do that with him. So I just really wish that a lot of girls would be, acceptive to guys with girls, but that's a rarity. That's a rarity for sure. Especially in this day and age.
I think that, I love that you have adjusted the friendship to be accommodating to the fact that he is married. I think that's so important. But I think also a lot of women would not be comfortable with that because the adage of can women and men be truly platonic friends? Or did they used to date and now they best friends? Or there's always gonna be this thought process, or she knows him better than I do, and I'm supposed to be his wife, so I don't know that I want them to be hanging out like that. So she's definitely a unicorn because a lot of women would not. The wedding would have been the end of the friendship.
Yeah, literally. And the fact that like
that's it.
She asked me to be in the wedding.
I love that for you.
Like, I know they probably had a conversation and stuff like that, but that was just like all right, let me make sure I tighten up, like I don't know, I just felt like a really good pat on the back of like, okay, some girl actually trusts me.
She gets it. Yeah, she gets it.
But to wrap up the relationship conversation,
I have found that I can't be my best self in a relationship unless I'm my best self in general. So if I'm unfulfilled, if I, need to chase the bag, if I know, I have bigger dreams or aspirations for myself, then I need to really lean in on that lens so that I can then be a stronger woman in the relationship that I'm in, and in this season, I kind of feel like I'm in transition. I think greater is coming, but it's been a trying 2 years since I've been back in Fort Wayne of getting my feet back under me, reestablishing my brand, getting community involvement. I think for me, people were afraid to partner with me because they thought I was going to leave. A lot of people didn't even know I was back in Fort Wayne. So even yesterday, I was at dinner and someone was like, "You're back?" And I'm like, "I've been back for 2 years."
Yeah.
But so yeah, I think this season of my life is making sure I can be the best me so that I can contribute to the best we.
That should be on a t-shirt. I was like, I need that.
Like, hashtag, be the best me so we can be the best we.
I love that. Now we've come to the point in the show where it's a mile marker. We're reflecting on some of your accomplishments, maybe life, career. So just like think about that.
Okay.
So what inspired the rebirth of your voice behind a mic?
I was inspired to bring something different, bring something new. I understand that the power of my gifting is in my voice. And for about 4 years, the enemy had kind of silenced my voice. I had gone dim on social media. I wasn't really posting my halo effect encouragement anymore. And I think a part of that was going through my own grief process of I can't be everything for everybody and nothing to myself. And having lost my mom, I was just going to kind of escape the true reality of the grief and letting it sit in, and sitting in that. And so I was constantly on the go, constantly on the move, kind of ducking and dodging that reality until I got back here. And then it was like, it was real. Like being back in Fort Wayne for me was the realization, like my mom is gone, like this is it. Like I'll never see her again. And I think being out of the limelight, so to speak, or off the mic for this time has really allowed me to reframe. It's allowed me to heal the little girl in me that lost her mom, to really kind of grow as a woman in my voice, to step into my, the essence of the woman that I am and the woman I want to be in this next season and chapter of my life. And, I think being able to say I've had new experiences. I'm a student at Harvard University, and I'm getting back into, building out something new for myself, new networks, new connections, global appeal. And I just always want to bring my gifts back to the city that made me the woman that I am, whether they love me or hate me.
That part.
But, I feel like I'm charged with that. I feel like that's something that is a part of my assignment. And I like to really be able to speak for those that don't have a voice. And so that for me is what inspired me to say, you know what, I think I need to bring the halo effect back, because it was a part of a lot of people's daily fabric. They were looking forward to that boost of encouragement, or that word or that quote that I would leave behind. And so I didn't really understand how powerful my voice was until the mic was on mute, until I was off the mic. And then people were hitting me up like, hey, where are you? What's going on? I miss your halo effect. I need your inspiration. Like, it got me through my day. And in the midst of it, you don't really understand how impactful you are until
I didn't know until you left.
Until you leave.
Until you leave.
Yeah. And people don't value you until you leave either, unfortunately. When you're in it and you're doing the work, people they just expect you to be a part of their day.
Yep.
And when you leave, that's when you get all of this outpouring of love and I wish you were still. It's like, well, when I was there,
I didn't say nothing. I get no messages, barely. And then, it's like the complete opposite. And so when you look at the whole scope of the halo effect, what are you most proud of?
I am most proud that I've always been able to write my own narrative. Like, I hold the pen, and so I've never had to conform. I've been able to build a life that allows me to show up to my daughter's golf meets, to not have to miss a choir performance. I've just been able to create a life that allows me to show up as a mom, show up as a business owner, show up as an innovation educator, show up as a student at Harvard, and show up for the people that I care about in a way that, I ultimately feel like, pat on the back. Like I do that. I do that in real life. And so for me, it's just an opportunity to continue to like I say, keep shining and be amazing. Like that's always been my tagline. You know, I encourage everybody to keep shining and be amazing. But what people don't know is that charge came out of a season of challenge for me. Whenever I would say that, you know, keep shining and be amazing. Yes, I was saying it on the mic to, you know, the audience of listeners, but I was ultimately reminding myself. You know, I'm talking to myself. I'm, you know, imparting that to myself. Girl, keep shining. You got this. You know, because as media people, we don't get an off day.
Nope.
We don't get to be sad that day. When that mic comes on or when that camera you know, when that camera goes live, you have to be on. And so a lot of my defense mechanism was I never turned off. I was always on. I was always this personality.
Same.
And so I strive for relationships that allow me to be me and turn off when I need to turn off. And that's been a hard balance to strike.
I just admire your, you know, look and take on things because, like I said, we definitely came down, you know, the similar routes, and I'm very much early in my career because I was just so afraid of that next step. But, you know, seeing people like you take on things that, you know, you weren't there for 10 years. Like you moved, you evolved, you showed people you're a multifaceted person. Like you're not just, like we said to each other earlier, you're not just somebody who is, I am a journalist. No, you're Angel Suttle.
Absolutely.
But who is that? And then that's when you get into it. Because a job does not define you. A man does not define you. You defined yourself.
Absolutely.
So when you say the pen thing, I was like, I feel like I need to go get a pen. I was like, where is the pen and paper?
Yes, you craft your own narrative. You have to, because if you let someone else craft it for you, you'll never feel fulfilled. And so take the pen back, you know, rewrite, you know, scratch it out. If it didn't work out, scratch it out, start another page, you know, flip the page, turn the page and keep it moving.
Yeah.
But yeah, ultimately, there is a flip side to the fluidity of my career trajectory too, because it has made people feel like, oh, she doesn't sit still. You know, she's always going to be on the move and on the go. And so for some people that can be a negative.
Yep.
And, you know, ultimately, I can't apologize for the way my destiny is laid out, you know, the way God has put me on assignment. And so when people ask you, like, what are your plans? Whatever God says, whatever God has for me.
No, I love
you
that.
know, I'm not in control anyway. I am committed to what I'm, you know, in this season, what I'm destined to do. But ultimately, whatever God has for me, I have to be obedient to that.
And I feel like we could go on about just everything because I was like, a girl night is in the future. Sorry, you guys are not invited.
Yes, VIP.
And so I want to come
the record.
I know that part. I'm like, oh my goodness. So I want to get to the part of the show where it's the fast lane, rapid Q&A. So just the first thing that comes to your mind, don't think about it too much. Just like very fluid. Okay. So go to R&B artist right now.
Doechii.
Oh.
Yes.
I could sing that whole song right now.
Yes.
Okay, best Saturday night vibes in Fort Wayne.
Urban Golf.
Ooh, okay. What about in terms of like a concert or a wine night? Are you a concert person or are you like a wine and dine type thing?
I love just a little chill vibe at like 2E's, you know, country heritage, live music, little moment. Music Lovers Lounge, little vibe at the embassy, something like that.
Exactly. Okay. What's your hidden talent most people don't know?
I can skate.
Really?
I can roller skate. My dad taught me how to skate when I was 4 years old, and I've been rolling on south. Shout out to rolling on south.
Okay.
But yeah, I can skate like the, you know, like some of the pros.
Okay.
I can crisscross. I can, you know, do a little something on the wheels.
And I know you said a little bit, so like introvert or extrovert, or it's both depending on the mood.
I am an extroverted introvert. I think in settings that I need to be social, I need to be on, I definitely can do that. But ultimately, I really value my time by myself. I love my own company. A lot of people struggle with that. They cannot be alone no matter what. I will go to the movies by myself. I'll go to a concert by myself. I'll take a vacation by myself. Now, if I'm in a relationship, there are, you know, concessions to that. But I have no problem, you know, being in my own company. And I think if a lot of people were more comfortable with that, then we would see a much more a higher level of emotional intelligence. I think it starts with you and being comfortable with you and not having to always be around people to feel like you are fulfilled.
Precisely. Sunrise or sunset?
Sunset, I'm asleep. I'm asleep at sunrise.
Favorite spot in Fort Wayne to relax or get inspired?
The Woodhouse Day Spot.
That part. If you could have dinner with any historical figure or just a celebrity, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Michelle Obama, because she is the blueprint. She is what a woman of power who allows her man to shine looks like. And that is where I'm trying to master and hone my skills, where I can, she said Barack was not, Barack until, they came alongside one another and built a legacy that is second to none and historical in what they were able to accomplish as a couple. So definitely got a couple questions for Michelle.
Yeah. Okay. What's your go-to self-care activity after a long day?
I would say go-to self-care. I love Pilates. I love Pilates.
Where do you go?
You know what? I was going to Hot Works. No plug, because they're not paying me.
Exactly.
I was going to Hot Works, so I love the isolation of the hot yoga, the hot Pilates. They have hot bar workout, and you're in this heated sauna by yourself.
I had to stop doing it because it got too claustrophobic.
Yeah. Oh, see, if you're claustrophobic, it's definitely not for you. I'm not a group girl. I don't really,
I get that.
The group work thing doesn't, and then for scheduling, I like the freedom of being able to kind of move the way I need to move based on my schedule. So I do like Pilates.
Favorite pregame hype song?
I'm a diva. I'm a
diva. Okay, I like, okay.
This is the sticker.
I was like, you're going to be pulling the mic when you get in the radio and be like, okay, Angel, let him sing it. The best pizza place in town?
Pint and Slice.
Second person that said that. I love it. Okay, go to wing spot in Fort Wayne.
Tower.
Ooh, yes,
Tower.
I love Tower.
Girl.
Shout out to them. I honestly love them. Guilty pleasure TV show or movie? Or both?
Bridgerton.
Really?
Yes.
Did you watch Queen Charlotte?
Yes. All of the things.
That's like a different type of tea where it's like, if the drama was like that back in the day, maybe I should have been there.
Girl.
But I love showers.
Girl.
And they bath.
Listen.
I couldn't do that.
Send me a good Duke, honey.
Yes, give me a Duke. Okay. And then if you could switch jobs for a day, what would you do and why?
If I could switch jobs for a day, I would be an airline pilot because I love aviation.
Okay.
Yes, I would love to fly a plane and be a pilot for the day.
Okay. And then last question, what's a mantra or quote that always keeps you grounded?
Keep shining and as always be amazing. I would
There you
end
go.
every single radio show with that mantra.
I love that.
That's the one for me.
So we've come to the point of the show where it's the rest stop. We're out of the fast lane. We're on like the side of the road. We're just taking a moment of reflection and, gratitude. So if your younger self could see you today, what would you think they would be most proud of?
I think young Angel would be most proud that I haven't conformed. I think I've always been a disruptor, even as a young girl. I just never really conformed to even running through the halls at Concordia Lutheran High School, honey. I'm gonna be late to class, but I'm gonna get an A on the test, and that will frustrate my teachers so much. Girl, you have missed 2 days of class and been tardy the other 2 days, and you still got an A+ on the final. Like, what is going, And so I always show up. I always deliver. But I always have to do it my way. And so though I could have avoided a lot of pitfalls in life if I had just, maybe aligned a little bit, but I think my younger self will be really proud that I've done it my way.
And what does rest, joy, or softness look like for you right now?
Rest, joy, and softness. I would say it looks like a getaway, being in a new environment, trying new cuisine, allowing, the meme where, you have your man in front of you and he reaches back for your hand.
Yeah.
That to me embodies like softness, where I can be somewhere I've never been before, not have to have my, strong woman facade on. just take all of that off, allow myself to just be present with the person that I'm with, knowing that he's got me.
Yep.
You know, I feel safe, protected, and insulated. And we're able to explore a new city or a new restaurant or a new lounge and just enjoy ourselves. So that for me epitomizes joy and softness, is being able to be my softest and most authentic self in the presence of the person that I'm building something with.
And when you think about everything that you've gone through and plan to go through, and now that you have, you know, children that are looking up to you and a daughter who may follow in the same exact footsteps as you, what does that mean to you as not only a mother, but a woman in the Midwest?
I always challenge my children to aspire higher. I think as a mom, my assignment is to encourage them to be better than me, go further than me, do more than I've done, if that's a part of their DNA, if that's how they're built. So I think ultimately, I definitely want them to march to the beat of their own drum. I don't want them to follow my footsteps. I want them to take my journey and take the lessons from it that they need to really push themselves a mile further, you know, miles ahead. No pun intended. No pun intended. But to continue their own trajectory and whatever that looks like for them, while keeping the fundamental lessons and life ethos that I've created for them. So that for me is the biggest thing. Is, you know, I remember, you know, my son being so intentional, and this was shortly after I got divorced, but you know, having to step into that mom and dad role, kind of being so intentional with my son about making sure he got his grades right and making sure he was, you know. And one day my son said to me, "Mom, I'm not you," and that for me reframed how I parented, because I was expecting me out of my children. You know, you got to get the A+, you never the A, you know, and that was what my parents charged me with, because I was capable of that. Every student is going to be different. Every child is going to be different. And so my son, you know, though he graduated from Florida State University, one of the top 10 universities in the country, has his degree, works for the state of Florida as an urban planning analyst, his trajectory looked different than mine. And I had to respect him in that and say, you know what, you're not me. And I respect that. I respect you for bringing that to my attention. So I need to now shift my expectation, not lower my expectation, but shift my expectation of you so that I can be a support to get you where you're going.
But you ain't his friend.
Not your little friend at all. No, not at all.
That's what I always like. I just loved hearing that, because in high school I would always hear that. But my mom, I never had that type of conversation with my mom of like, I'm not your little friend. But like every time I would go to like my friend's house, their moms would say that. And I'm like, what does that even mean? And now I'm like, I get it now. Now that I have nieces and nephews, I'm like, yeah, I ain't your little friend. I promise you. And I'm not an ATM. I'm not a taxi driver. Like, I could go on and on.
Like, we can kiki all day, but I'm not your little friend. And I think also parenting my son and parenting my daughter are two very different things, because I am my daughter's little friend. You know, I am her first line of defense whenever anything is going on, because I want my daughter to know, even if it's something that I'm not going to be happy about, I can go to my mom. My mom is going to help me figure this out. I never want her to feel like she's on an island by herself because she's afraid that I'm going to have a reaction. I want her to come to me because ultimately she's going to turn to somebody. So why not me, the person that has her best interest at heart, you know? And so whatever's going on at school, whatever, you know, she opens the dialogue. Mom, let me tell you what happened. And that for me is my proudest moment as a mom, that I've created such psychological safety for her to feel like, even if this isn't, you know, something that I think my mom will be, you know, excited about, I want to tell her so that, you know, she can help me frame it. Because I always tell my children, I can't help you if I don't know what's going on. And in this day and age, you need to be able to have, with mental health, with, you know, the school shootings, with all of these things our children, social media, imposter syndrome, all of these things our children are plagued with, they need to have an outlet of someone that cares for them. Because if they are not turning to someone that cares for them, they're turning to someone else.
And you don't know what kind of advice they're going to get at the end of it.
Absolutely.
So to wrap all this up, is there anything you want to say to the viewers, the listeners, that is something that you just want to leave them with, or something to plug them with, anything like that?
I think that we always feel like success should be linear. You know, like it should be you do this, you go to college, you get the great job, then from there you get a promotion, and it doesn't always happen that way.
Not in that
but
order.
that doesn't define you as a failure. That doesn't mean that you're not in purpose.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to understand that life can sometimes be a boomerang, you know, like a boomerang where you throw it out, you do the work, and sometimes your blessings will come back to you.
Mm-hmm.
But there are also seasons where it's a slingshot situation where you're being pulled and pulled back and pulled back. But you better believe when you are catalyzed and when that launch happens, it's going to be something that you could never have imagined. And that for me is sometimes in that season of being stretched and pulled in that boomerang season, you feel like you're by yourself. You feel like, gosh, I don't have it figured out. You feel like I should be further than this by now. But I challenge you to sometimes you have to feel the discomfort. Sometimes you have to pivot. Sometimes you have to move out of that luxury spot because you need to really reframe or regather where you are. You know, my trajectory has led me back to my family home right now so that I can recalibrate. You know, I once owned a home that was almost 3,000 square feet, you know, to now having to recalibrate my life back in Fort Wayne and manage my parents' estate. So never looking at it as a setback, but a setup for my next level of come up. That's what I would leave the listeners and viewers with. You know, everything is a setup for your next come up.
I love that. And so where can people find you? When does this radio show kick off? Because apparently we need to go to church when we go listening to you.
Well, I'm on socials, Angel Suttle, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. You can find me there. LinkedIn as well. I love my professional network. LinkedIn is a hidden gem.
Oh,
that a lot of people
love
sleep
LinkedIn.
on.
Love
People sleep
LinkedIn.
on LinkedIn. So definitely find me on LinkedIn. But you can listen online at wboi.org, or you can tune in if you're in the local area by tuning your radio in your car or at home to 89.1 FM.
Angel, thank you so much for stopping by Miles Ahead. You're always welcome back.
Oh, I had an amazing time. Thank you so much. And shout out to the gentleman. I mean, I love this format, being able to just have real dialogue and see things from a different lens or perspective. So yeah, I need that. That's definitely something, because we were trying to figure it out, and they're like, well, let me give you a little, let me shine a little light on that.
Exactly.
So, salute to you all, and I'm so honored that you were able to invite me to share my journey with your listeners, and I hope it was an inspiration and blessing to somebody.
Heck yeah, she'll be back. Don't worry. We didn't cover everything, clearly.
More to come.
There you go.
Halo Effect, Saturday night, 8 p.m. on WBOI.org, 89.1 FM.
Let's go. I really hope you liked this week's episode. As always, follow us on all social media accounts. You got TikTok, you got Instagram, you got Facebook. Miles Ahead Podcast FW. And be sure to hit that like, subscribe button if you liked what you heard. More giveaways to come, more content to come. We're ramping back up to what we were doing in the beginning. All right. Hope you have a great week, great month, great year. Love you always. See you next time.